I see the danger of how we're actually going to get into a job apocalypse. I asked it to do something like very general, and he had written like 2,700 lines of code.
If you are a junior developer and you don't understand how the code actually works, then you are in no position to tell Claude or whatever you are using how to code. All these kind of entry-level positions where you are creating text, working with text, they are already gone. The mathematical model on which all this is based has some limits, and we are, for now, pretty close to that limit. So, and we'll see.
From the depths of the Amazon rainforest to the high-tech labs of Milan, he didn't just cross the ocean, he crossed the timeline. He learned Italian in 3 months. He builds robot dogs for fun. He has 10 billion ideas running in parallel. Basically, he is the guy making the rest of us feel extremely unproductive. But his mission is bigger than robots. He is teaching 6-year-olds to wield AI like a superpower, proving that in the future, curiosity is the only code you need. He is the architect of the job apocalypse, or maybe its savior. This is Pedro Vendette.
Can you tell me a bit about you? And then we'll go straight to the AI talk and what you are working on right now.
Okay, so I guess I can present myself as a Brazilian who is now in Italy. I've been studying engineering for the past 2.5 years. I just restarted engineering here in Italy, where I'm doing electronic engineering. Mostly I have 10 other projects that are not related to university, but more related to the use of AI and learning mainly. I do currently participate in a project where we teach kids robotics.
Wow.
And we use a lot AI to teach them and to make them be able to break the barriers of knowledge that you would need to study 10 billion things before building your project. We let them get excited with the potential that ChatGPT and other AIs can bring them.
And so that sounds amazing. Are the kids using AI in order to do the creation of the robots and programming, or how does that work? Because sounds amazing. Like you can very easily build your own robot as a kid. I would have loved that at that age.
Yeah, no, it's actually awesome. I mean, here in Italy, things are very theoretical. You know, even in university, as engineers, we do no projects. It's all based on demonstrations, and they treat us like we're mathematicians. And as I talked to my co-workers, which are Italian, they told me that in school, it's the same. They all learn everything very theoretical, where students try to show that they know more than they actually do. And that's not what we want to do. We want to create a system where the student and the teacher, they actually have a connection where they can freely tell the teacher that they didn't understand this and ask questions that are not related to the topics we're trying to teach them in order to let them create whatever they want, whatever creativity as a kid brings them, which is insanely bigger than ours. Like as soon as you present a kid like the opportunity to create a robot, they already want to make a robot that has a machine gun. They think on anything, I swear.
Yeah. Wow. That's not necessarily a good thing with the machine gun, but they are kids. I remember. I mean, you know, I remember all the 90s movies where they were all Terminators and all this kind of stuff, and it was the Christmas spirit.
Like the way they were using AI
yeah,
intrinsically now is to let them talk about their projects and use AI to translate their ideas into solutions in a language like C++, which they don't understand. And like the teachers I kid were I teach the kids I teach are like from 6 to 12 years old. Some of them already knows a bit of programming, but most of them have no idea what it is. So we teach more about the concept of a workflow, which is like the general idea of a solution for an automation or for anything. And we let them use ChatGPT to improve their workflow in order to translate all these ideas into a program.
I have The first question that I ask here is regarding AI, love it or hate it? I can assume your answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So, love it or hate it so far?
So I see the dangers of it. I do see the
Okay.
dangers. But for me, like I tell you, I am a hyperactive person. I have a zillion ideas and I can't really manage all of them. AI is a really powerful tool for me because it lets me extend the chain of thought that I had in parallel into more straight. I use AI a lot as tutors when I need to study for university. I use AI a lot to like do some codes that gets an input and output something else, like parameterization of things. Like AI has many, many uses in my life and it turns it like it makes it much easier. Mainly when you're dealing with 10,000 ideas that it's too many things to do and you don't have a team working on your back.
Yeah, that
For
makes
me, I
sense.
love
But
it.
tell me more about the dangers. What are the dangers that you can see?
I mean, I see how it may lead us. Like, you can tell me better of it, and I hope you do. Like, I see the danger of how we're actually going to get into a job apocalypse, you
Oh,
know?
I'm
Yeah,
more optimistic. I'm the optimistic guy here, and I can see a future where things will adapt, things will change. I see a future where everybody has a job and still has like work to do, but the output, the productivity is 10x. So instead, as you mentioned, instead of working for a month to create a tool, you can work for a day and create a tool. You are still working.
it's
You still
true.
create tools or widgets or whatever, but now your productivity is like it works much better. Your output is much better. So that's what I can see, at least short term. Of course, it's painful to adapt to this reality and the expectations and the costs and all these things. So it won't be easy, but I can see it like for now, this is what I can see because it has limitations. The mathematical like model on which all this is based has some limits, and we are for now pretty close to that limit. So
Yeah,
it's
I can also
it's
see it in
it's an
this
opportunity.
optimistic way. I just think that like it will be a huge adaptation and most people aren't going to be able to do so. Cause like people who are very straight minded, who are good at one thing and like, they have to learn to expand their creativity. Cause that's what AI does. AI lets you, as you said, create tools in a day if you are able to
Correct.
structure well your ideas. And AI can even help you to structure your idea. Like I have a friend who's like, he's a genius. He also teaches with me in the courses. Like he uses ChatGPT as his second brain. He's constantly sending audio messages to ChatGPT. And like audio messages, they're like, I hear him speaking and I don't understand anything, but ChatGPT somehow does, and
Does.
he helps him. Like
Mhm.
in one audio of 5 minutes, he says 10,000 different topics and then he's able to manage all that input that I don't think his brain could do so. So if people are able to understand that now maybe they don't need to learn all this amount of knowledge that was required
Mhm.
before, but they can get the general idea of how to create a solution, or at least how do they want the solution to look like. And they're able to break down this solution into conditions, right? Because that's what we do in automation. I think that they are able to create anything using ChatGPT, using actually Jules from Cloud. That time that when we talked,
Mhm.
I created an API for existing software that I had no contact with the developers just by reading the network page of like all the requests being sent. I
Mhm.
was able to create an API in less than a month for someone who didn't understand anything about
Yeah.
like what was actually happening in the post requests, the GET requests, because it was like
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
10,000
game
lines of
changer.
it. It
It's a
is a
game
game
changer.
changer.
Yes, especially for new
So,
projects. As you mentioned, you have no idea, and you can just ask it. For me, it feels like you have a developer from the old team. he's there, and
Okay.
you're asking, okay, why did you do this like this? Oh, and there's a good reason why. This is how it works. You should do this, and it's powerful because there's 0% of time when an old person from like a legacy 20 years, 10 years old software is still there to answer your question, or it would cost like a huge amount of time and effort in order to do that. And yeah, it's powerful. And
Can I ask you a question?
sure, sure.
Like you right now have a full company, a full team who works building like automations for companies. Like,
Yes.
does your team use a lot vibe coding? Like, I mean, like not vibe coding, but like the integrated terminal inside Visual Code or something like that?
Yes and no. Yes and no. And here it's a full discussion. Yes, they use it, especially for larger projects where there's a new team member and they have to ask this kind of questions. And my recommendation for them is to use it, but like write their code themselves. So if you
Hmm.
are a junior developer and you don't know or you don't understand to how the code actually works, then you are in no position to tell Claude or whatever you are using how to code. You will always be a second guesser. I don't like the word because it has a negative
Hmm.
connotation, and it sounds like somebody who has never been a programmer, has no idea what they are doing, and they are coding, right? And that's what I see as vibe
Yeah.
coding. What I am doing when I use it, and of course the complexity of the task cannot be that large. So humans are still needed, developers are still needed, and this is good news for like for developers.
So yeah.
But it can increase your productivity. And how I call this is human assisted programming. So because the human is more like an architect and a reviewer. And if you let the AI model to write the code, then you have to make sure that that code is safe, that code does what it, and you have like actually do the reviewer
And
and you
that
guide it what to
integrates.
do. Yes, and you guide it, but it's no longer written by you if you let it. So that's why I call it human assisted coding, which is basically the vibe coding, but I see that term as not perfect for how things can be used in order to take
The way
advantage
that
of this
you
AI.
do it is like really how I would expect my code to be done because like the first time I used it, I asked it to use something like very general and like I left for 3 minutes and he had written like 2,700 lines of code. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? Do I accept this? Like what happened, And what I was thinking is like, I heard a lot about companies who are like firing developers and who are planning to in the future
Yeah.
remove the human in the loop because it's they say
Yeah,
that
it's a
AI can
discussion.
manage the AI can manage better like the
Yeah.
what the other AI agents are doing and that the human in the loop is delaying the productivity. But I think that like maybe you can tell me better about this. That's why I'm asking like the context window where you're gonna have like thousands of files
Yeah.
in your thing that were created by AI and accepted by AI. They're not going to remember. How are they going to integrate all of this?
Yeah, that's dangerous. AI written code reviewed by AI and pushed to production by AI, it's dangerous. I would never allow something like this. Somebody still has to own the code and it cannot be the AI.
You
There was an
cannot.
experiment with Devin who they tried to do this and it failed as an intern. So there was a company who had Devin, he broke the code, he worked for 2 days on something that was wrong, of course, because there are limits, as you mentioned, and they fired, they fired the developer. Yeah, it's a long discussion. It's a long discussion, but let's take it step by step. So circling a bit back on the jobs and this, there is a handbrake here. And the handbrake that I can see is trust. There will be lots of people who will not trust AI for different reasons. A similar concept that I think of right now is how long it took for our grandparents and parents, but most likely your grandparents, to accept modern smartphones with social media apps. So at least around my circle, they would just reject it. It was something like, okay, no, I have this. They accepted the phone, like the normal phone with buttons. I like my buttons.
Yeah.
I want to feel them. I just stuck with it. Why would I need? And it took 10 years, at least 10 years, until they could no longer buy those kind of phones. So it's very hard to find right now. You have it's
Yeah.
expensive, it's hard. And they were forced by the society around them to switch to smartphones. And once they did, they are now on Facebook and they use WhatsApp and they are like digitalized. They are almost digital natives now, but they had to be forced into it. And for 10 years, they did not want to hear about it. Of course, not everybody, but lots of people, like older persons, they did this. And that could happen for AI as well, where different companies will say, okay, we don't trust it. We don't want to send our data to AWS, not to Microsoft, no OpenAI. Even if the repository is hosted there, it's still that feeling, okay, they might steal our data, they might steal our processes, internal processes, they might steal our workflows. And they either try to reject that or have different subscriptions like we have, for example, where OpenAI promises that they won't use your data for training. And that's, of course, it's a contractual thing. What the other option would be is to host your own LLM. And that's very, very expensive in order to have a really good one. So
It is.
to have a Claude 4.5 or even 4.0 from OpenAI, you need like a mini data center in a server.
Middle
Yeah, so
cluster.
there will be a delay. There will be a time where people will not adopt this like en masse, and there will be a lack of trust on AI everything, because we can see how AI right now is generating fake images, fake news. So it's being used for all these negative things, and it starts to be, the AI slop term, where okay, it's a fake image generated with AI. I like ads, there is a section, there's a trigger in brain where if you see an ad, you just ignore it. I'm not sure if you notice
Yeah.
it. If you go, just take a walk in the city and go somewhere and then do the same route again, but be very careful and watch for every ad and count the ads that there are on the street. And you'll see there are hundreds of ads, but the first time you did not notice them because the brain is hardwired, just ignore the ads. And
Oh,
same thing might happen with AI. Okay, and now going back to the development companies and what's going on with people who are giving up on developers because the AI can do it, or people in general. So right now it's an economical crisis. There's post-pandemic, there's huge inflation, there's a war, multiple wars actually. So it's an economical reason for most of the layoffs. That's how I see things right now. I have a bit of economical background from my PhD thesis, and there are all these like the feast and famine cycles. They are like standard cycles for the capitalism system, and all the companies every few years they go through this. The ups, okay, we have an up and then we have a down, and then up and so on. And right now, I can feel that we are somewhere up theoretically, but it's very much down. So the stock is all-time high record, but
because of
the
AI.
maybe, yeah, it's a discussion. So they will find a reason. There's always a reason. There was crypto before that, and there always was a reason for this to be high. AI obviously is one of the reasons right now, but like the living standard of people is continuously decreasing. But I definitely see these layoffs more like economical reasons. And of course, they are impacted by AI, but not necessarily because the AI can replace all these people. It's more because the companies are doing a business decision. We can believe that we can replace this with AI, and this is not necessarily a reason, but something that we can tell our shareholders, our investors, and then we do these mass layoffs, and
I
then
see.
our stock price goes up. Wow, so it's very cold, hard business decision that I would say it's not a good one. That's how I see, because there were examples with companies who did that, and then they had to rehire the people because AI is not that ready to replace anyone right now. They can do workflows, they can do automated workflows, but you still need some kind of human in the loop. That being said, there are some positions that AI is really good right now, and it's better. I had a discussion before in the previous episode on marketing, and for some workflows, AI is better than 90% of like junior marketers. And that's a big
Really.
number. That's a big
On
number.
marketing.
Yes, on specific workflows from marketing. So not full marketing, but for specific tasks. And one of those tasks is, for example, editing a video to extract information from or short clips or like interesting scenes from, for example,
I
this
see.
podcast, right? Then copyright. Copyright is different now. And I can see how most companies either won't even hire a copywriter or use one just to review some of the things that AI is doing right now. So writing text, it's a dangerous position to be, except if you are an expert or really, really good at what you are doing. So all these kind of entry level positions where you are creating text, working with text, they are already gone. That's how I see. They're
Yeah,
already gone. And
internet is gonna become
artists
AI
with
generated in this sense.
yes, and even artists that were doing designs and different custom artwork for games, for example, they are having a hard time right now as well. And then we go towards the support roles where you answer the phone and soon AI will be able to answer that phone and have a pretty natural discussion. We are working on that, and the latest models are crazy. And those positions are definitely in danger to be changed or lost. And what will happen and how I see that work out is you don't need 1,000 people to do it. Maybe you need 10 people to do it. And that's very bad for the other 990 people. And they will need to adapt, they will need to find a job. Depends on what country you are. For example, if you are in Germany, you have 1 or 2 years where you receive some kind of support from the government and you'll be better. You have some time to adapt. In other countries like the USA, they did not do those jobs anyhow. They were in Vietnam and Philippines and India and so on. So maybe they won't be that
Yeah.
affected. Yeah. So entry level positions and this kind of positions that can be automated with AI are in a similar situation like when the industry and like all these factories came up and replaced most of the human labor with robots or lines where they would go. And that was a bad thing for people working there. I'm 100% and maybe we need a more interesting study or more complex study on exactly what happened with those people, because I'm pretty sure they found a way. Maybe they moved, they went to another places, cities and so on, but our standard of living and healthcare and everything right now, it's much better as a whole for the whole humanity, or at least in the industrialized countries, than how people were overworked, badly paid. They had almost zero rights and they worked for pennies in those slum kind of factories doing
Hmm.
all this handwork.
Exactly.
So we were better off on the long term, I would say, I would argue, because it increased productivity and people who could, for example, not afford a car at that moment now can buy a second-hand car and so on with something that was impossible to do 100 years ago. So,
Yeah, yesterday I
yeah.
was having a conversation with my girlfriend who spent 5 months in India. She went to do a voluntary job there, and she told me about how it's the situation in the slums. We're having exactly the same discussion about like how can like people be replaced by AI or robots, for example, like, as you said, like in BMW, right? They have been changing everyone in the lines by Tesla robots. But she said like that even though like for 80 years now, we already have machines that do the tailoring for everything. There's slums in India, you have millions of people working every day, living in the work, still doing the same things that a machine could do. So I guess
Yes.
the main idea and the main thing that will change for these job markets, depending on how emergent your country is how cheap the technology gets. Because
Yes.
if it's super cheap to have an AI agent or like to have a robot that does the full work, then there's no reason to hire someone. Right? Like even if
Yes.
the work is not as good.
But you can see it as an opportunity. That would be an opportunity for a small company or a one-person company to do things that they were not able to do before. Maybe they would not be able to
Exactly.
hire a person before, but they can pay $50 per month to some kind of AI tool that can help them do more. So there's opportunity.
Exactly, exactly. And that's how I see it. For me, it's awesome to have like AI to build the things that I'm doing because as of right now, I had three main projects. I'm building a robot dog. I have the courses of the kids. I have like a startup that I'm doing. And like it's so many things you have to deal with. AI really helps you to break the barriers where you used to need to hire someone to do specifically that. Where now, as a team of three people, you can still create like a product or like something that is as valuable as what someone could actually do for you for 100, 200 euros, you see.
Mhm.
This is really awesome. I guess there's actually something that is very important I wanted to say. And that is that before, as we've been saying, the AI breaks the barriers of knowledge. I think that people in my generation, from the 2000s, the Gen Z or whatever, like the main thing that they have to learn right now is how to structure solutions, how to create a workflow for solutions. Because as we said, right now we're teaching kids to do the same thing and arrive in solutions that where they don't have to study a bunch of things, a bunch of languages. They can just create those and as we talked about last time, for example, N8N allows you without writing a single line of code, like to create automations and workflows that will let you do everything. Like right now, for example, we have been working on automation that gets our meeting sessions. Like for example, it could be this podcast or anything. It gets a recording of everything we talked about. And it structures out for us all the questions that we left open, all the ideas, because we had 10 billion ideas, like all the ideas that we entered, the subtopics of it, how deep did we go of it. And then it could, like the idea is not ready yet, but the idea is that it will create on Notion all the pages for every topic hierarchically and diving deeper on our own ideas and going through like even like the tests that we talk about, like we have to do this, but we forget after. Like it can manage all this. So like think about the possibilities that you can create if you had like a person that was
Yeah.
like your secretary and could do so many things for you
Yeah.
that you
A
don't want
personal
to do or that
assistant.
you can't do
Mhm.
on your time. And you can literally with conditionings and a workflow create whatever you want, even without code. It's really awesome. But I think we'll leave for next time.
No, it's a great time to be alive. I see it as an opportunity, and it has dangers, as you mentioned, of course, and it is a tool that we can use to do good or not do that much good. But I would love a future where people use it to do good.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Let's be
Thank you so
optimistic.
much. Thank you so much, Pedro, and looking forward to hearing from you again.
All
And
right.
thank
See
you.
you, Florida.
One
Thank
more
you.
question. I almost forgot. One more question, actually, two questions. So first, 0 is here and 1 is you, or like things that you would expect from an AI assistant to do very, very well. So from 0 to 1, where do you see the current models being right now? How do you see the current state of AI?
I would say zero point 0.4, but
Okay,
if you have me and the AI, then we get to
you get to.
two, which
Yeah,
it's
no,
two times
I'm
me.
just taking the AI. So you see it as 0.4 right now, correct?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Okay.
Because you can't do
That's
anything alone.
so it still needs some help. Very good perspective. Thank you. I'll do like a calculation on this and put it on the website. Okay, how are things? Like all the
Okay.
answers from all the guests